and welcome to the Narrowboat Experience. Today we're going to take you to meet our friend Holly. I mean Chris and Margaret on their narrowboat.
Yes, Chris and Margaret have very kindly offered to be the final people we interview for this narrowboat experience, and we're very grateful that they have opened up their boat and are sharing their story with us. We have been bowled over by your wonderful comments and how much positivity you have to other people who are sharing their narrowboat experiences.
If you have been enjoying this series, now is the time to subscribe so you don't miss season 2 later in the year.
Yes.
Hello there, I'm Chris.
I'm Margaret.
And we live on Herbert, as in Diary of a Herbert. Welcome to our humble abode. When I was looking for a boat, I had a very strict criteria of what I wanted. I very much wanted a traditional looking boat. I wanted a traditional boatman's cabin at the back, which I've got, and I wanted an engine in an engine room because I like vintage diesels and I like polishing brass and copper. So when I found Herbert and took one look at this engine, I went, yep, I'll have that one. So I did. This is a Russell Newbery DM2, 2.6 litres, 4-stroke diesel, 2 cylinders, 6.5 inch stroke, a 4 1/8 inch bore. And this is the very last complete Russell Newbery engine that was ever built. So she's a rare beast, or a unique beast, and beast she certainly is. It's one of the main reasons I bought Herbert, because I wanted this traditional looking engine room. So as I say, I've got brass and copper all over the place, so I spend my entire life doing nothing but polishing and cleaning, and then Holly will quite happily climb up the exhaust pipe because that's her favourite tree to climb at the moment, and then she'll drop down onto the rocker covers and I get little furry paw prints all over the brass. So I'd had a change of circumstances. I split up with an ex-partner and we had a house together, sold the house. Now I've wanted a boat for about 35 years before I bought Herbert. Never had the money, but always wanted the idea. I took out a small mortgage, but I'd always wanted to live on a boat, and I thought, well, I've got two choices. I can either buy a house or I can go out and buy a boat. And I thought, blow it, once in a lifetime opportunity, let's go out, let's buy the boat. And I saw Herbert for sale at Rugby Boat Sales about 3.5 years ago now. I went out, I bought a boat, and here I am 3.5 years later, and I don't regret a thing. It's fantastic. There was no plan B. There was one opportunity, and I was going to take it. There's a great quote from Swallows and Amazons by Arthur Ransom. Grab a possibility while you can and never be sorry for a maybe.
Chris and I had been together 20-something years ago. We'd been married, we'd separated, we finally got divorced, and then 15 months later we got back together. In the meantime, Chris had bought Herbert, so I knew that if I wanted Chris, Herbert was part of the package. However, I lived in Sunderland at that time. Herbert was moved down in Reading. We did the commute bit for quite a while, just to see if it was going to work and we were going to stay together. Once we realised we were going to stay together, we thought, this isn't working. So we knew that we had to make a decision, which was either Chris come up to me or me go to Chris, which we'd spent a lot of time, we did a lot of discussion and things like that. So I actually chose to relocate. However, what I did first was I did a 3.5 week trip with Chris to see if it was going to work or not, because Chris had spent all of his childhood holidays on narrowboats. I'd never been on a narrowboat in my life. So we did 3.5 weeks together. We did a trip from Reading up to Birmingham. I think it was 124 locks going up. It was 127 coming back. My first lock took me 45 minutes because I was so terrified, because I had to walk across the gates. But I did it. Took it at my own time. Chris was really, really patient with me. Inside he must have been going, but he was really patient. And by the end of that trip, I was very proficient in locks. We'd had perhaps 5 seconds where we kind of fell out with each other, but it was very brief. It was just that little thing. By the end of the journey, I felt confident steering in and out of locks, and no regrets. I'll be very honest and say, you know, going from a 2-bedroom house to 70 foot long, 6 foot 10 wide was a bit of a shock to the system, but boats are really well made. There is lots of storage. There are all sorts of clever little tricks that you can use. I did have an issue initially because I was like, where am I going to put all my shoes? Where am I going to put all my handbags? Where am I going to put all my clothes? Chris very kindly got me a storage unit, which was really, really helpful. And I would recommend if anyone can do that, if they're in a marina close to some storage units, do it. You know, no regrets at all. It's a very different way of life. It's really good for your mental health. You know, if you wake up in the morning and you look outside and, you know, there's just some mist on the water, or if you've had a bad day at work and you can just get on the boat and just go out, even if you only go out for half an hour and you're in the middle of nowhere. No regrets at all. Best thing I ever did.
I had some mental health issues a few years ago. I was working on the railways, had several assaults, and I suffered with depression quite badly. But being on the boat has helped that, because you get that opportunity to go out. If you don't like where you are, you just start the engine and move. But the great thing is that, especially during the spring and the summer, you know, you're lying in bed, and when you wake up in the morning, your morning alarm clock is a skylark about 150 foot above your head. So they're singing their heads off. It's beautiful. You know, why live in a house? I can't remember the last time I heard a police siren, the last time I saw an ambulance, a fire engine, boy racers, anything like that. It's peace, it's quiet. It's just a case of you get away from everywhere, you can just completely mellow out, sit down, read a book, watch the world go by. But it is such a much more relaxing way of life. And also the one thing that we really noticed is that there is a much stronger sense of community on the boats. You know, if we walk from the boat to the reception block in the marina, to do it takes about 3 minutes. However, because you'll meet people along the way, I'll say, I'm just going to check the post. An hour
Half an hour later.
Exactly. Half an hour to an hour later, I'll come back, because you wind up talking with people. You spend the time to talk to people, find out what's going on, what the latest gossip is. You know, it's always gossip. But it's just a much better way of living.
One of the things we have talked about as well is when we get a little bit older, at the moment we currently sleep under the tug deck, and so we crawl into bed at night and we crawl out again in the morning, and at the moment, you know, that's absolutely fine. But no, we're really hoping that, like some of our neighbours, we're still going to be here in 20-25 years time, not necessarily in this marina but on this boat. But we do have the boatman's cabin, so it may well be that at a later stage we'll make some changes, get a stove in the boatman's cabin, sleep in the boatman's cabin, and then use the tug deck where we currently sleep for storage. But that's a longer term thing.
And I can't see going back to a house. I really can't.
We don't have a TV anymore, and to be honest with you, it's not something we miss at all. We love the peace, the quiet, and if you want to look at something beautiful, you just open your front doors. Every morning the view's different, every single morning without fail. If you don't like where you are, you move. If you're not enjoying something, you move.
The one thing I would say if you're buying a boat is do your preparation.
I was like, how am I going to blow dry my hair, and how am I going to do this? And it did have a fridge freezer, it did have a washing machine, it did have a proper shower. I thought I was going to be standing sort of above the toilet, kind, you know, like you do in a caravan. But boats nowadays, they have everything that you could possibly need, and probably a lot of things that you didn't realise you needed. I didn't know you could get tabletop ironing boards. You know, what a difference things like that make. So boats are clever, you know.
Chris and Margaret, and of course Holly, for allowing us on board Herbert to take a look around, and for taking the time to talk to us all and share their experiences of living on a narrowboat. Chris is on Facebook as Diary of a Herbert, and also on YouTube, and we'll put the links to that in the description below. So definitely click over and check them out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not much of a tea drinker, I apologise.
That's fine.
I didn't make it.
No, we're not putting that.
Just realised, forgot to tell everyone the absolute best reason for living on a boat, and that's because
Yeah, fixing engines isn't a problem. Come on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that brings us to a close of the Narrowboat Experiences Season 1.
Yes.
We hope you have enjoyed finding out about other people's experiences of living on a narrowboat. We've certainly enjoyed meeting the people and hearing their stories.
I've enjoyed the cups of tea.
Big thank you to everybody that's been involved in making this series possible, and also to you guys for liking, commenting and sharing the videos.
If you have your own narrowboat experience and you want to share that with us, then give us an email. We are currently filming season 2, so you never know. If you have your own questions for people living on board, because it's something that you've become interested in, leave the comments below and somebody will answer them, I'm sure. But apart from that, thank you so much guys for watching.
Thanks, and we'll see you again next time.
Bye.